Our scripture for today's discussion and message is from Luke chapter 24, starting with verse 13. Now that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you only a visitor to Jerusalem and do not know the things that have happened there in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said. But him they did not see. He said to them, 'How foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Christ have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?' And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus acted as if he were going farther. But they urged him strongly, 'Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over.' So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, 'Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?' They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, 'It is true, the Lord is risen and has appeared to Simon.' Then the two told what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread." Pastor Harry, he didn't trick me, but he kind of made me feel like I ought to help him out because he couldn't find anybody to come speak today while he was in Ireland. So that's how you're stuck with me. But so I asked him, I said, "Well, what can I talk about, or I can't do some things that you do?" He said, "Whatever is on your heart, please talk about it." So I said, "Well, can I talk about what I'll call reaching out ministries, of which we have quite a few in the church. We have the missions and reaching out all the way to Cuba, to all the mission families and pastors that we support in Cuba and have for a long time. We support the shut-ins and the children and food pantry and all those things that we do, many more that we can name. But today, I asked him, would it be okay if we talked about 2 areas? And he said, absolutely. And the first is Stephen Ministry, which you have probably heard about before, and the second is the walk to Emmaus. Like Holy Communion, each of these ministries rely on sharing God's table as the foundation for caregiving and leadership in our church. So beginning with Stephen Ministry, our mission statement that supports our vision is as follows. Stephen Ministry provides confidential person-to-person care as a conduit for Christ's healing of life's challenges. This is accomplished by equipping lay people to provide distinctively Christian care to people in need through compassionate, trained, and skilled caregiving. Now, Pastor Harry himself is a trained Stephen minister, if you didn't know that. And he is vital, as any pastor is vital within any church, for a successful Stephen Ministry program to flourish. He is the one who listens to people's concerns, what's bothering them, the help they need, and he may, at that point in time, may recommend to someone that they consider Stephen Ministry and someone to walk with them through the life's challenge they're facing. So he is critical and very vital. Now, Mary Mutter, who's not here today, she was at the 9 o'clock service, but many of you know Mary. Mary is what we refer to as our referrals coordinator. And that means that once Pastor Harry or one of you, anybody in the church recommends to someone that they seek out a Stephen minister, then Mary will interview that potential care receiver and understand what they're dealing with, and then she knows each of the Stephen ministers that are in our program that are trained, and she will provide the best fit for the Stephen ministers that are available to those care receivers who are facing a life's challenge. Okay. Now, also, Pastor Harry and Mary are the only two people within our program and within the church who know who care receivers' identities are. We take confidentiality and trust in what we do extremely seriously, and I am the current Stephen ministry leader in our church. I don't know any of the care receivers, don't know them and don't need to know them, but they protect that very carefully. So should you get to a point where you, a family member, a good friend, someone you know, need someone to walk with them, dealing with a life's challenge, you can trust that it'll be kept very confidential, and no one will know what is happening except you and that one-on-one relationship with a Stephen minister. So to do this and maintain our program, we have training most every year. We're planning on our next training class beginning probably in late January. I have been contacted by Pastor Duff from the Faith Vieira Lutheran Church, and they would like to partner with us in the next training class. And so we're in the middle of pursuing that. There'll be more to follow, and we'll let you know as that becomes available. So please consider if you're looking for something that is of great benefit to the people in the congregation and our church, even our community, and something you've been looking to find that niche that works for you. You may not like working on committees or doing that kind of stuff, but you're more comfortable one-on-one, then think about it and let us know if you'll be interested. Now, after the service today, I'll hang around a few minutes. If anybody does have any questions, I'll be glad to answer whatever you have. There is one gentleman in this service who has expressed interest and I think is planning on participating. Okay. As of today, we have quite a few caring relationships. We have I think all of our female Stephen ministers have care receivers, and some have had ongoing relationships for quite some time. We have a few openings for men that if someone needs a man to walk along with them, we have that available. So if you are facing the loss of a loved one, if there's divorce, things going on in your family, financial challenges, if you've lost a job, if you have other medical challenges, all of these and other life challenges or situations where having someone to walk with you could be helpful. So how wonderful it is that we have Stephen ministers, people who volunteer their time and their love and their resources to support and execute this vital ministry within our church. There are a lot of them here today, and some of them have been here for more than 20 years since Stephen Ministry was founded in our church and has continued. And they're all great people. Now, so more on that afterwards if you want to talk with me. Now, the walk to Emmaus. I want to dispel some inaccurate information that you might hear about the walk to Emmaus. The walk to Emmaus is not a clique, a secret society, far from it, okay? That's not what it is. Within our church, we are part of the Aldersgate Emmaus community. That geographically is one of the largest in the country and the largest in Florida by quite a distance. It runs all the way up from close to Gainesville, down to Tampa, over to Palm Bay, and up through here in Orlando and all those areas geographically. About 9,000 people, give or take a few, have made the walk to Emmaus within the Aldersgate community since the 1980s when it began. It is guided and managed through the upper room located in Nashville, Tennessee. You can go online and read about the Walk to Emmaus and probably see more there than what I'm going to share with you today. So it's not secret by any means. The walks are conducted in Leesburg, Florida. And no, you don't got to walk there. It's just titled the Walk to Emmaus at the Warren Willis Methodist Camp. And we even have within our church, we have a representative to the board of directors for Emmaus. Her name is Sandra Walker. She goes to the 9 o'clock service as part of the praise team. And she's doing great. She'll be on the board for about 3 years. Now, Pastor Harry, that rascal has experience with the Walk to Emmaus as well. In fact, in this coming March on the men's walk, he will be the spiritual director for that walk. There'll probably be several of the guys in the church that work on that particular team, that particular walk as well. In fact, Chris, the praise team leader at 9 o'clock, and Pastor Harry, you may have heard this, but even so, they went to the Walk to Emmaus at the same walk in the same time frame and actually sat at the same table together for the entire weekend. And now here's Pastor Harry here, and here's Chris here, and how God works in mysterious ways sometimes. Dick Lay, 9 o'clock service, was working that team during that walk. Okay. Some information about the Walk to Emmaus. If you were to choose to go, Pastor Harry talked to you about it, friends talked to you about it, people who have been talked to you about it, and you decide you'd like to pursue that, you must have a sponsor. Now, if we get to that point and you don't have a sponsor, but you still plan on going, we will find you a sponsor to work with you. And sponsors help fill out applications. They help get you there and bring you home. They take care of your family while you're gone. They do whatever's needed so that you can have a free weekend to really benefit from the Walk to Emmaus. Now, the scriptural basis for the Walk to Emmaus I read this morning as our scriptural reading for the day. Okay? There are men's walks, March, October. October handled by the Tampa community normally. March handled by what we call Central Florida, which we are a part of. And then sometimes the women's walks follow the following week. So the men go one week, the women usually follow the next weekend. There are times when there are so many women that want to attend the Walk to Emmaus, we can't handle all of them in March. Then there can be and have been follow-up walks for women only in April. Okay. Food is a big part of the Walk to Emmaus. A team of men and women who have made the Walk to Emmaus will manage the entire weekend. There will be a lay director whose job it is to organize the team, train the team, get everybody ready who's going to work that particular walk for the pilgrims that will be attending. And there will be a spiritual director, again, Pastor Harry in March, and there will be now he got the benefit of doing that from that rascal, Pastor Joe Jersa. Pastor Joe says he is now, since he retired, in addition to doing the things you hear about him doing with things that are involved in the travels they're doing and the nomad work, he is on the board of directors, he is the board clergy, the spiritual director for the board. So it's his job to find pastors that give talks at the Walk to Emmaus and participate. Okay? And then everybody else that goes and works on the team either are in leadership or they are angels serving anonymously around the camp. Okay? A little bit about the conduct of the walk. There is communion each day of the weekend, starting Thursday night through conclusion on Sunday about 6 o'clock. So if you participate and go, there will be communion available each day. There are some special events held during that weekend. I could stand up here and tell you about them, but until you experience them, it wouldn't do me much good, nor you. It's one of those things where you just can't describe it until you actually are involved in it. There can be only 36 pilgrims on a given walk, and that's driven by the limitations of the size of the conference room in Leesburg with which we conduct the talks and manage the weekend. You are grouped into tables if you go. So the men's and the women's walks, there'll be tables of 6 to 8 people up to that max of 36 pilgrims. And the entire weekend you will stay together and do the things that are required on there. Okay? There are 15 talks given at the Walk to Emmaus. 5 are given by clergy, and they're all on grace. The first is, it was a strange word to me when I first heard it, prevenient grace. And prevenient grace means that God knew you before he formed you. And things before you were even born, he has been involved in your life, and as he continues to be. There are means of grace given that Pastor Harry will give that talk, the means of grace. Justifying grace. There will be, Pastor Harry has an assistant spiritual director. Pastor Harry gives means of grace. The assistant gives sanctifying grace. The 3 other talks are given by other clergy that Dr. Joe helps Pastor Harry with pulling together. Then there are 10 talks given by us folks, laity. Priority, growth through study, changing our world, Christian action, the body of Christ, discipleship, the priesthood of all believers, perseverance, life of piety, and the 4th day. At each of these talks, the speaker, who again have been on the Walk to Emmaus, they're given a general outline to follow, because each Emmaus weekend that we are on is also held throughout the world at the same time. The material is the same. The intent of the walks is to put on a walk in Leesburg, Florida, the same as you would put on the Congo in Africa. No difference. Okay? So, but very, very critical and very important. And each of these speakers, their talks are prepared. When they're drafted, they are reviewed with the team. They're given constructive feedback to improve the talk. And included in that talk is personal witness about what's happened in their lives. And some of what you hear just brings tears to your eyes. It's wonderful to hear. And people have been through an awful lot, no matter what stage of life you're in. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy, poor, none of that matters. When you're before God, you're before God. We do lots of singing at the Walk to Emmaus. We have 2 singers, or 2 musicians who are part of the team, and they typically are the most humorous people in the room. Table dynamics are the most critical aspect of the Walk to Emmaus. It's where everything happens. It's where everything is learned, and questions asked, and sharing with your table mates goes on. So you will pray together as a table. You will listen to the talks together. You will discuss the talks afterwards. You will share what's happened in your life. If you're shy, you will be brought into it. If you speak too much, you will be brought out of it a little bit. Okay? So, because we're kind of trained to handle all that stuff. So it's wonderful. And the things you hear, we had there has been a former member of the Orlando Magic made the Walk to Emmaus. We've had a former world weightlifting champion and bodybuilder at the Walk to Emmaus because of children and the youth program. So open to anybody. Hope that you will consider it. I've heard a number of times that pilgrims, when they finish up on Sunday around 6 o'clock, they don't want to leave. They don't want to go home. So very meaningful, very impactful to your life. Now, I will also be available after this service to ask questions about Emmaus if you were interested or want just more information about it. And I was told by Pastor Harry